What's up? Today we will be doing what if Kakashi adopted Naruto. By the way, like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and shout out at Reese1 or Reese What Ifs. He made this thumbnail for me, and go check out my gaming channel. And yeah, let's get right into the video. So let's just say Naruto, he was just doing his regular day, going to the third Hokage, complaining about how people kept treating him. And the third Hokage said, "Well, I will think about it, kid." And he thought about doing something. And okay, we left off at where he thought about an idea, and he was like, "Okay, that's a good idea." And he said, and then he called Kakashi through telepathy. I don't forget the word. And Kakashi said, "I'll be the right eraser." And Kakashi ran to the body flickered to the third Hokage's office. And the third Hokage said, "Kakashi, can you adopt Naruto?" And Kakashi said, not type of a kid person," what he was rubbing his head. And the third Hokage said, "Please, he's having some hard times, and I think that you could help him." And Kakashi said, "Okay, but don't expect me to be nice on him." And Kakashi was like, and the third Hokage was like, "Okay." And the third Hokage was happy that Naruto would get his get what he needed in life, but he was also still kind of mad because what the Naruto did to his wife. And the third Hokage couldn't get that out of his head when the Nine Tails killed his wife. And what's her name? And the third Hokage said, "I have to think about some things." And then he did a whole bunch of paperwork because he was stressed and he didn't know what to do. And let's get back to Naruto. Naruto's roaming around, and Kakashi appeared in front of his body, flickered in front of him. And Naruto was like, "Oh, hey, Kakashi." And Kakashi was like, "Naruto, I'm here to adopt you." And Naruto was like, "Wait, what?" And Kakashi was like, "Yeah, I'm here to adopt you." And Naruto was like, "Why?" And Kakashi said, "No reason." And then Naruto was like, "Okay, if you say so." And then Naruto was like, "Will you train me?" And Kakashi said, "Yes, I will, Naruto." And Naruto was like, all right." And then he went with Kakashi so Kakashi could do the paperwork for Naruto's adoption. And Naruto was like, "Finally, I can have parents." And Kakashi said, "What? How did you know?" And Naruto was like, "Well, since nobody really changed, I did some research and I find out." And Kakashi said, "So, do you know about, that thing?" And Naruto was like, "Yeah, but if I gotta do something, I'm moving around, so yeah, it's kind of difficult." And Naruto, he said, "Yeah, I know about that." And Kakashi was like, "Oh." And then Naruto was like, well, anyways, can we go on with his day? And Naruto, he said, where's your place, Kakashi's? And Kakashi told him the location. And Kakashi said he had to do some work. And Naruto body flickered well, let's say he didn't body flicker. He walked to Kakashi's place. And Kakashi was wondering what he was going to be doing. And Naruto went to his backyard and said, oh, I'm going to be pumped. Naruto was very pumped right as he said that. And he started doing a whole bunch of push-ups. And by the time Kakashi got there at night, he did about 1,000,000 push-ups. Let's just say that. And Naruto was like, ah, and he screamed in pain. And Kakashi ran to the back and said, what's wrong? And Naruto said, well, my muscles are sore. And Kakashi ran outside to see a buff Naruto. And Kakashi was like, what? You only been out here for a day. How are you already? Oh, and Naruto was like, well, I kind of did 1,000 push-ups as he passed out. Naruto, he went to the hospital and the doctors told Kakashi that it was just exhaustion. And Kakashi said okay. And they said he just needed a little rest. And then the next day, Naruto woke up in the hospital and said, where am I? And he saw Kakashi sitting in the chair and said, you're in the hospital. He said, for what? Exhaustion. And Kakashi was like, how did you get so exhausted? And Naruto said, well, I kind of got overpumped yesterday and I did like 1,000,000 push-ups. And Kakashi was like, that explains why you're so buff. And Naruto, he put his hand, he put his arm and looked at it. And he saw that he was super jacked. And Naruto was like, cool, I'm buff. And Kakashi was like, well, you know everything even in physical strength, Naruto. And also said, yeah, it just looks cool. And Kakashi said, well, it looks cool, but not a lot of people can agree. And Naruto said, well, I'm going to do more training. As he jumped out of his bed and started running. And he realized he only had the little shirt or whatever on. And he said, oh, can I have my clothes? And Kakashi said, come lay back down, Naruto. And Naruto said no. And he ran off and checked everywhere until he finally found his clothes. And he ran out of the hospital. And Kakashi, he got there a couple minutes later. And as Naruto was walking down, and Naruto was like, ooh, I can do 1,000,000 more push-ups. And he started running and getting pumped. And then Naruto said, not 1,000,000 again. I think it's going to overexhaust me again. I just do 999,000 push-ups. It's going to be 100,000 off from 1,000,000. And Naruto ran to their place / Kakashi's place and started doing a whole bunch of push-ups. He did his goal and said, oh, now I'm even jacked. And then Naruto said, well, I like Kakashi's look better. And then he went in the bathroom and he said, I'll get an overdo it. And he went to some stores and bought a whole bunch of stuff. And he bought a black outfit. And he said, this will look cool. And he got some hair dye, and the color was silver. He said, "Oh, it definitely look cool like Kakashi." And he put that on, and it was like a buff Kakashi, and it was like a buff mini Kakashi without the vest though. And Kakashi eventually body flickered there to see Naruto, greeting him and said, "Hey Kakashi, look at my new look." And Kakashi was like, "You're even buffer now." And Naruto was like, "Yeah, about that. I did a lot of push-ups again." And he said, "Don't exhaust on me again." Naruto said, "Okay." And then Kakashi said, "Do you want to train?" And Naruto said, "Yes, yes, please." And and then they started training. Naruto learned how to chakra control, and he walked on a tree. He said, "Kakashi, Kakashi, this is so cool." And Kakashi was like, "Yeah." And then they started learning all the elements and stuff. And Naruto had lightning style, wood style, and fire style. And Naruto was like, "Well, can I learn more?" And Kakashi said, "Well, if you really put your mind to it, you probably can." And Naruto said, "Well, I kind of like these." And Kakashi was like, "I have to give you a gift." And Naruto said, wait, can you give it to me now, please?" And Kakashi said, "Well, you're gonna have to beat me in battle first." Kakashi and Naruto was like, I can't wait until I get into the academy. And Kakashi really didn't want to spoil it, but but Kakashi told the way of teamwork and how it was important that you needed teamwork, and those who abandoned their friends were scum. No, those who abandoned their mission were scum, but those who abandoned their friends were even even scum, like better, worse than scum or something like that. I forgot. And Naruto was like, "Okay." And Naruto said, "Can we learn some lessons?" He learned the shadow clone jutsu and then he said, "Well, I want to learn how to use Kiruma." And Kakashi was like, "Well, you're gonna need the help of Jiraiya." And he said, "Where is he? Where is he?" And Kakashi said, "Well, I'll call it a day for now, but we need to wait." And Naruto was like, "I can't wait. I'm too pumped." And Kakashi hurried up and body flickered over to Jiraiya's place and told Jiraiya, and then they both body flickered back to Kakashi's place. And and wasn't Jiraiya taught everything about the Nine Tails and how he can learn chakra and that he could learn the seal. And then Naruto wanted his mindscape, and Naruto was like, "Kurama, I would let you out of the seal." And then the Nine Tails slash Kurama was like, "How do you already know my name?" "Well, I did some research on you. You're pretty cool." And Kurama was like, "Wow, you're a pretty weird kid, Naruto Uzumaki." And Naruto was like, "Well, if I expect you to know my name, you're basically in my mind." So, and Kurama was like, "This kid is really nerdy. I don't like him as much as you." Then Naruto was like, "I'll let you out this cage." And Kurama was like, he was shocked. And then Naruto said, when I get my headband, I will become the best ninja, and I will unlock you from this cage right when I get my headband, or the day before." And Kurama said, "Okay, kid." And Naruto, he trained a lot in a year, and then the next year after that, he was ready to because he was ready to go to the academy. Naruto was like, finally, I'm so pumped. And Kakashi said, you only have a year left, Naruto. And Naruto was like, oh, I forgot. And Naruto was like, well, I'm just gonna have to go crazy. And he said, I'm just gonna have to go a lot harder now. And Kakashi said, I basically taught you everything I know. And Naruto was like, what about that jutsu? What about those jutsus you taught me about? And told me about. No, what about the present you told me about? And what about the things that you taught me about? And he said one of them you will need special training, and the other one you will need to train with Jiraiya. And Naruto's like, okay, I can train with Jiraiya first, and then we can do the special training. And Naruto, he body flickered over to Jiraiya's place without doing any hand signs or stuff or anything. And Naruto got there and he said, Jiraiya, can we do the special training now? I mean, not special training, the planning training or whatever. And Naruto and Jiraiya was confused at first, and he said, "Oh, that training." And he taught Naruto about how every clan has this special eye or chain or something. And it caught his eye that he said chain. Oh, that would be cool. And Jiraiya knew that it was meant to be that he was an Uzumaki. And 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 then Jiraiya said, well, that's what you're going to be getting today, kid. Naruto was like, yes, yes, and yes. And then he taught him all of the basics and everything. And then 2 weeks later, Naruto learned it and said, yes, I finally did it. And Jiraiya said, yeah, but don't you need to go do some special training with Kakashi? Naruto said, well, right before today, he said, well, yesterday he said that he was going, we were gonna have to, I was gonna have to wait until I got into the academy, and he said, if it goes to plan, anyways, but I don't know what that means, so. And let's time skip into a year. And in that past year, he trained a lot and got a lot of new stuff. And then they did a test to see what they already knew. And Naruto, he got all of the questions right. And they said, Kakashi did him well. And that's what Iruka thought. And then we time skip when they announced the teams. Well, exams or whatever, when they get their headbands. And Naruto used the Shadow Clone Jutsu, and he said he ended up making 15 clones in there. And Iruka said, impressive. And then we time skip to they name the teams. Every team is the same, except their power levels and stuff are different. And then they do the bell test, and then the next day they do the bell test. Well, they tell themselves about everything, and Naruto said, can I go first? And Kakashi was like, okay, Naruto. And Naruto was like, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. My dream is to become a Hokage. Um, what I like, I like ramen. Um, and that's it. What I hate, nothing really. And then he said, okay, Sasuke. And Sasuke said, I wanna, my name is Sasuke Uchiha. What I like, nothing. What I don't like, a certain someone. My motivation slash my dream to kill a certain someone. Like I was like, this guy's gonna be blinded by hatred in the future. I can already tell from the way he talks. And Naruto accidentally said that out loud. He said, what did you say, kid? And Naruto was like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to say that out loud. And Kakashi was like, Naruto, don't start stuff. And Naruto was like, I didn't mean to, Dad. And Naruto said, that slipped out. And Kakashi said, don't let it happen again. And then Sakura and Sasuke looked at Naruto and were shocked. And then Sakura went up. My name is Sakura Haruno. What I like, and she said, and she blushed and looked at Sasuke. And Sasuke noticed this, and Naruto and Kakashi, and they all were like, they noticed this, but they didn't think it of nothing. And my dream is to marry someone. And she blushed and looked at Sasuke again. And Naruto was like, And Naruto didn't think much of this. And then Kakashi said the next day we're doing a test. And don't eat tomorrow. And Naruto was like, I think I know what your plan is. And then Naruto said, but I don't think much of it. And then they all went back home. Naruto body flickered back home with Kakashi. And then those two walked back home. And then after that, the next day, Naruto woke up, hurried up, and ran to the training ground. And then he hurried up and told Kakashi, "Don't be late." And Kakashi said, "Okay." And then Naruto hurried up and got to the training ground before anyone. And then since Sasuke thought that Kakashi was gonna be late, he got there 30 minutes late. And Kakashi said, "Don't get here late." And Sasuke was like, "What? You're usually late. Why are you here early?" And Kakashi said, "Thanks to Naruto, I got here faster." And then Sasuke was like, "Dang, that brat." And Naruto saw a little glare at him and saw this ball up. And then Kakashi explained the bell test and everything. And Naruto hurried up and told them that they needed to work together. And he told them, why would there be a 3-man team if we would only why would there be a 3-man team if we just went out solo? And they said, that makes good sense. But why should we listen to you, Naruto? And Naruto said, because it's smart and it's... And then Sasuke and Sakura said, okay, that makes sense. And then they said, but why should we listen to you? And he said, I literally just told you the reason. And they said, okay. And then he hurried up, and then they rushed at, then they were about to rush at, Kakashi, but then Naruto said, wait, let's make a plan first. And Naruto said, I will blind him with my fire so he can't see. And then he asked Sasuke, did he know how to go underground? And Sasuke said, yeah. And Naruto was like, perfect. And Sakura, what can you do? He said, punch things really hard. And he said, okay. Hold up, wait a minute. And then Naruto said, okay. So, I'll pick the fire. You go underground. Sasuke. And do you know how to hide your chakra as well? And Sasuke said, yeah. And then he's like, perfect. So you hide your chakra and you go underground. And then Sakura, you deactivate my flames. And he's gonna notice that I deactivate my flames. You hurry up and run at Kakashi. And Kakashi Sensei, Naruto said, and then he said, and then Sasuke, and then he's going to be, and Naruto said, and then he's going to be confused where Sasuke went, and hurry up and look behind him, not caring what Sakura did, being reckless. And then Sakura, you hit Kakashi in the back, and then Sasuke, you pull him down into the ground, and then I go underground as well and go underground and try to get the keys. And they said, what happens when you get the keys? I'll do it when I get them. And then they did their plan. It didn't fail. And they got the things, bells. And they said, who are you going to give it to? Naruto said, one for Sasuke and one for the team. And Kakashi was like, you failed. And then Naruto was like, no, we didn't. And then Kakashi, right as he was about to say, just keep. Naruto, right as Kakashi said, Naruto cut him off and said, he's just kidding. We passed. And Kakashi was like, yep, that's right. And they were like, this kid knows a lot. And then Naruto was like, well, can we go on a mission? And then they did a whole bunch of boring missions. And Naruto was like, okay, Kakashi Sensei, can we finally do something exciting? Then they went on the Zabuza mission. And then they ran into the 2 demon swordsmen. But Naruto was the first one to notice and grabbed them out of the puddle. And he said bye-bye. And then and then Naruto said bye bye. And then um Naruto used his chains, and then he started pounding them with his bare fist, and eventually eventually killing them, I should say. Kakashi said, Naruto, don't you think that was a little overboard? And then he said, how did you kill them in 2 hits? And Naruto said, well, I think it's because all of that extra, 1 million push-ups and stuff. And then Sasuke and Sakura said, that explains why you're so buff. And Naruto was like, yeah. And then they went on the rest of the day, and Naruto was the first one to sense the rabbit and said, "That's just a rabbit." And then he hurried up and looked farther and saw that it was a white rabbit, and knew that white rabbits were really only in the snow, and said, something's up. And then he sensed the chakra of Zabuza, and he grabbed his sword midair, and then he took his sword away from Zabuza and said, "This is mine," as he cut Zabuza's head off. And then Sakura and Sasuke said, "This kid's no joke." And Naruto they completed the mission, and Haku said, "You will pay." And then Haku popped up and said, "You will pay for what you did to Zabuza." And then Naruto said, "Do you really want to get your head cut off from the same sword as him?" And Haku said, "Yes, I have no reason to live." And put my body next to his. And Naruto was like, "No, I'll throw you off the bridge though." And then Naruto hurried up and ran at Haku, and he cut her head off. And then he hurried up and ran. He kept her close right there, and hurried up and ran and grabbed Zabuza's. And then he threw them both in the water and said, "Well, nobody won't notice." And Kakashi thought that his son, aka Naruto, was kind of going overboard. Said, "Naruto, you're kind of going crazy." And Naruto was like, sorry about that. It was just instinct." And then that was the end of the mission, and time skipped 4 years later, and they were going on S-Ring missions now. And let's just say he was now 14, and Ino was into Naruto. And on his birthday, she decided to ask him out. And Naruto got surprised by a whole bunch of people and said, "Oh, you guys remembered." And Ino said, "Guys, can I talk to Naruto about something in private?" And they all left to the backyard. And Ino shot her shot and said, "Well, Naruto, I like you." And Naruto, he said, "It's about that. I do too." And she was happy. And Naruto, he was kind of weirded out. And she kissed Naruto on his cheek, and she ran off. And Naruto, he was like, how did she run off so quick? And Naruto went to the back and said, guys, you can come back now. And then they all took the piece of the cake and they had a fun time. And then after that, they left and Naruto went to sleep. And that is my classic end off right when he goes to sleep. That is my classic where I'm going to end it off. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Share if you enjoyed. Check out my brother's YT/YouTube at Reese1 or Reese's What Ifs. Or Reese What Ifs. Check out my gaming channel. I really don't post on it that often because, well, there's some things going on right now, and I really can't, make clips to make montages and stuff like that. But anyways, peace, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.